This is the Rear Naked Chicks podcast.
Hey everybody, it's the Rear Naked Chicks podcast. It is your lone Rear Naked Chick left, and I'm here with McDojoLife. Rob, thanks for joining me, and thanks for everything you've done to cover the story. I know that you guys have such a bigger platform than we do, so getting that out there for the world to see has been really important. What's the response been like for you?
I mean, we've only so far, like whenever the story originally started, I started covering the story originally. The only thing I did was just repost something that you guys had already put out. And I said, we'll be covering the story. And then that was it. And then at that time, when that came out, like there was a lot of people like who were trying to, I guess, I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, there's probably like maybe like 5 or 6 people who were like devout on the other side of the spectrum towards Carl's side, who were saying like, these things never happened. These ladies are liars. And it was like, you know what? Like, we're going to find out. Let's look at the facts and let's see what's going on. But luckily, the same day I had contacted you guys and I said, hey, in order for me to cover this, I need evidence and proof or I can't cover it. You guys were so forthcoming with just giving me a whole Google Drive of like tons of evidence and documentation. And it was like, okay, well, I know exactly what's going on now. And then, a lot of people I could tell were only listening to Carl's side of things. It was very blatant that they were only listening to him and did not care that there was another side to the story, which was odd because a lot of those people were saying, oh, you're only covering one side of the story. It's like, no, I'm open to covering both. Carl just hasn't provided me with anything. And at that time, he did tell me he would be willing to provide me a statement, which he did. And I told him, as well as you and everybody else, I was on no one's side but the truth. You guys handed me evidence. And then when he released his statement, and then he released his statement, I mean, the one he gave to me, not the one he posted on his personal Instagram. But when he gave me that statement, it was like riddled with things that I could see blatantly right off the bat were just lies, not even half truths. So it's like, I'm a little dumbfounded. Also, the legal letter that I received was very cute. Obviously, you can tell what I thought about that letter because I wiped my ass with it. But literally, not figuratively. But when it comes down to that letter, one of the sentences on there that always stood out to me was that, and one of the things that was said, I can't obviously tell you everything that was in this letter, but intended to mislead the observer into believing that Mr. Massaro stalked and harassed Mrs. Holmes. Well, I never alluded to anything. All I did was reshare what you guys had posted. But the big thing is that now I'm saying it. I'm not alluding to shit. You did. Right. Like there's evidence. So if you want to go to court over that, I can't wait. I have a great suit. It's going to look fantastic. I'll go into the courtroom. I'll make sure I got my teeth whitened. We'll have a great time in there because after you lose, I'm going to countersue for real defamation of character.
So what has been really like the pushback that I've gotten? Because in my world, we've got the gym that I started at, which was Henzo Gracie Warwick, and then the gym that he owned and operated, which was nearby, that I visited all the time and trained at, which was Henzo Gracie Northern Valley. And then you've got the Henzo Gracie Association in general. And when I originally started all of this off, before I even did anything, there was significant pushback from within my gym. Well, my professor specifically was informed that this was going to happen, that I was going to interview Maggie, and he called me and tried to get me to kill the story. Even though he was aware of a lot of the things that happened, he wanted nothing to do with this. And
what gym are you comfortable with saying what gym you trained at the time?
Yeah, Henzo Gracie Warwick. So he basically said, and my boyfriend was actually on speakerphone when he said it, that you're not going to be able to train here anymore if you do that. And I called his bluff and I said, I this is important to me. I'm going to do it anyway. So I guess if you have to kick me out, kick me out. And then he said, oh, no, I'd never do that. So we went ahead with the story, but very much he disappeared from view. Like there was no support whatsoever. He wasn't going to tell anyone what he knew. He wasn't going to open his mouth on it. If you asked to interview him, I don't know, but like 0 words. Like, I just don't want to be involved. And obviously that was a huge struggle for me because all of my experience with Carl in the beginning, everything I knew about him, having this fixation on me and his inappropriate behavior in my gym's context was through my professor and other instructors and other black belts. And they all refused to speak up. And so when I was critical of that on your video,
which
that
is
was
odd to me that he would get so upset about that, because he was mentioned almost in passing, like once in a 2-hour video. So I'm not exactly sure.
Look, everybody's the main character on their own story, right? So, but like the fact that I was calling attention to other black belts of Carl's who knew what he did, who needed to step forward in order for this to like actually have some weight and get something done and keep women safe from Carl in the future, like that was as though like the biggest betrayal. And apparently this is like, you know, I just had lunch with a mutual friend who, you know, was still at the gym and it was like very close with Dave. And he's just like, he didn't deserve that. You know, he's just trying to stay out of it. And, you know, a lot of people don't agree with the way you're handling it, throwing him under the bus. And I'm like, throwing him under the bus? How? He threw me under the bus. Like he literally made the girls choose.
Think about how big of a piece of shit you are for that. And for the fact that you fucking know. You know what the man did, because I have texts of you talking about it. So like, you know what the man did, and then you're choosing to take the side of like, oh, well, I'm just going to stay out of it. No. You're not choosing to stay out of it. That's actually the opposite of what you're choosing to do. You're choosing to take his side. By saying nothing, you're choosing to take his side. By not standing up, you have one or two sides here. Either you're aiding and abetting someone who stalked and harassed a woman and then lied to people, to the public, about people who told the truth. You're either aiding, abetting that, or you're standing up against it. You're making yourself look like a terrible human being by staying out of it. You're not staying out of it. You just don't want your name brought up in it. That's called being a coward. That's my opinion.
The craziest thing to me was like, your name didn't even have to be involved. You could have quietly shared this information behind the scenes and had something done about it. Like, you have power, you have a responsibility, you have that position of leadership. But like what you did was the exact opposite, was try to shut me up, first of all, and then just disappear from view when you were, you know, asked about whether or not what was relayed about what you said was true. And I don't know, it's mind-boggling to me that the people who are still my friends, who still say they support what I'm doing, are so upset or like so surprised that I would.
And at the end of the day, fuck this guy. Like, didn't he say words like, called Carl very deceitful and said that he spends the truth verbatim?
Yeah.
Hold on, what else did he say? Like, clearly you know that this motherfucker's a liar. Like, you say it, you call him that. Like, you say he's deceitful. You say that he spends the truth. You say that when he changes his story, like, you call the man unstable. Like, why wouldn't you fucking have some nuts and say the fucking things that you were willing to say behind the scenes when you could stand up and help these women? And then to have the fucking gall to force these other women to choose is fucked up. That's enabling. It's enabling behavior. Like, those are just like certain words I've chosen to pick out of that, but they exist. So like, at the end of the day, if he thinks that he's staying out of it, he chose not to stay out of it by actually saying shit like that already. Like, he chose not to stay out of it by...
He decided not to stay out of it when he called me before I ever even recorded the podcast episode and threatened to kick me out if I did it. Like, that was when my trust in him went away. I thought so highly of him before that. And I realized in that moment that like, my integrity, my safety as a woman in this sport, especially in the affiliation that he belongs to and that he has a voice in, were not as important to him as his comfort and safety of not having to deal with this. Because, you know, the guy that I just had lunch with, he was like, this is so stressful. Nobody can handle the stuff that you're doing right now. Nobody wants to be involved for this long. Why don't you just let it go? It's so stressful. And it's like, doing the right thing isn't always easy. And the fact that the argument is it's too hard and you should just let people off the hook and ignore the bad guys.
That's dog shit. That is a terrible thing to say. Oh, well, it's too stressful, so you should let it go. Imagine what it feels like to be the victim of this kind of stuff. Is that not stressful? Imagine standing by and just allowing somebody to continue to do certain behaviors when you know for damn sure that that's the type of person they are. Oh yeah, like, imagine how stressful that could be for them. oh, but as long as it's not stressful for you, right?
Right.
Like, and second of all, like, just I want to add this too, is because I feel like you were railroaded the hardest in this whole fucking thing after Maggie. Maggie obviously had a lot that was going on during their relationship. That's what this whole story is about. But then for you to stand up, and technically it was three of you standing up at the time. And then when the heat got hot and it was like, look, you can either pick this hobby or you can stand up for what's right. It's a fucking hobby. Like, you chose a hobby over what was right.
You don't even have to give up the hobby. You just have to give up the convenience of training at a place where it was made very clear that no one was going to, stand up for you in this community and make sure that the community as a whole was safer. What was made clear to me was that if I'm unsafe, but dealing with that makes you uncomfortable, my safety is not the priority. Your comfort is the priority as the leader of that organization, as the leader of that academy. Like, this entire group of people has just decided that we don't do things about women's safety unless it's easy. If we have to be in any way uncomfortable or call out anybody else who's involved in this organization, even if we know personally that they're a terrible person, we just don't do that. We don't get involved. But like, as the leaders, if you don't get involved, that means you don't get involved in keeping people safe, and you don't get involved in, preventing the future of abuse in all the affiliated academies. Like, I just can't, I can't get on board with this. It's not my problem.
But at the end of the day, they should know what they're doing is wrong. They're aiding and abetting the behavior.
People just want to stay out of it and live their lives. And it's like, okay, but if everybody does that, how does anyone ever get held accountable? Like, if you're sitting there and you see some little girl get hit with a car and you saw the license plate number and the cops come up to you and they say, what was the license plate number? And you say, man, I want to stay out of it. Like, you didn't hit the girl with the car, but like, you made sure that guy was still out there driving around. You did.
Like, other than that, it's another thing is what always blows my mind is how much people weigh the hobby over the right thing to do. It's like the guy who harassed me the other day. So one of Carl's students harassed me, and I do call it harassment because I told him multiple times to stop contacting me, and he didn't stop contacting me until I told him if he did it again that I would have to pursue legal action. I had to tell him 4 times in a row, stop contacting me, stop contacting me, stop contacting me. And he kept sending me messages anyway. Then I told him at first, I was like, yo, the only way I want you to contact me is on live. I don't want to have these conversations, because he was contacting me on Instagram comment section, YouTube comment section, personal email. And then we talked in DMs. When he sent me an email, he wanted me to call him. I'm not going to give you my personal phone number, dude. So if I call you, you're going to have that. So I'm not going to contact you like that. I said, why don't you just talk to me live? So we did join live, and I asked him one specific question to start off with. I said, did you see the full story that I did? And he said, no, I had not watched the entire 2-hour video. He actually even says that on YouTube. Now, he may have since then, but he did state at that time that he had not seen the full thing. And I was like, well, did you at least see the police report? He goes, I know all about that. I was like, all right, so you saw the police report? He goes, yes. I go, in the police report, did you see that the police officer labeled Carl's behavior as stalking and harassment? He goes, I don't want to go down that road. It's like, what the fuck? Like, what kind of cognitive dissonance do you need to have? And so, like, I gave this guy all this opportunity to speak clearly with me and directly, right? And then he kept trying to bring up basically Carl's narrative. Like, he kept saying, like, I want you to admit that you're going to donate the proceeds to this to like some charity. I was like, there is no proceeds. I'm doing this for free.
No, we made money. We lost money.
I'm getting no money off of this. As a matter of fact, I purposely was getting no money off of this specifically because of what he was saying about y'all guys and saying, oh, it's all about the money. All right, well, I'll give you a big fuck you because I'll burn the house down with me in it. And I'll say, you know what? I won't get paid off of this at all. So I didn't, still won't. I still refuse to. I don't want any money off of this because it's the right thing to do. Like, know what would have been convenient for me? It would have been convenient to not cover the story. It would have been
us too. I'd still be at my old gym. I still would have never found out that my heroes were not willing to, say a simple sentence of the actual truth that he fully believes in to anyone who mattered just to support me. Like, what are you personally afraid of as some random person in some other gym that he doesn't own? What is he going to do to you? And if you're afraid that you're going to get your affiliation pulled because you're going to upset Henzo and this guy that he's protecting, why would you want that name on your building if you know he protects predators?
Yeah, for sure. And you know what's really cute, right? I gotta, like, while we're having these conversations, I just think there's so many cute things that have come up because of this. So hold on, let me find it. All right. So one of his black belt instructors under him, his name is Joey Gambardella.
Yeah.
So he was on that Google Doc sheets and stuff like that, and I could see that he was somebody who was well aware of what was going on. But funny enough, I guess somewhere in there, like sometimes when you're scrolling through, like on Instagram, like you accidentally hit buttons, like especially if there's like a long list, it'll say follow, follow, unfollow, unfollow. So I guess I had accidentally done that somewhere in the line. I never meant to unfollow this dude because I didn't have any issues with him. And so he goes, did you unfollow me? And I said, that's strange. It wasn't intentional, but I went ahead and followed him back because that wasn't purposeful. And he goes, oh, thank God. And I go, okay. He goes, I said, yeah, man, sometimes scrolling buttons get hit. It happens. I went ahead and followed him back. It wasn't purposeful because I didn't know he was associated whatsoever with Carl. I had no clue. Didn't know because I wasn't like going through his page.
He's the one that I refer to when I say he's the one instructor we had in common. And the two ones, he was the one telling Carl where I was.
Yeah. And it's like, he said he thought it was for another reason. So he thought like I unfriended him for a reason. And he said that freaked me out and bummed me out because I didn't want to be looked upon differently. Everything just happened. I don't know what to do. I just love jujitsu. And so like, it seems like at that point, like he was saying, like he felt like he was stuck. Like at that point, I knew he was associated with the story because up to that point, I didn't really know because I wasn't like looking at his shit like that. Right. And so I was like, oh, why is that? Why? Well, like, so I looked and I was like, oh, he's like an instructor into that. I said, what reason is that? He said, because he went to that school. And I was like, which one? He goes, the one you posted about. I was like, and I told him, I said, it's not your fault. The guy is who he is. And, people are telling him he needs to disassociate. He doesn't know what to do. He said, it has nothing to do with me. And I told him, I said, do what you feel is right to do. But then, like at that point, we're having this mutual conversation, right? Cool. I appreciate that, right? And then I reached out to him and I said, hey, man, I have a few questions for you because I realized that he was a part of the story. And I said, hey, he goes, hey, what's up? And then after I told him I was doing a story about this, been dead silent. And the reason I bring that up is because at the end of the day, this is like somebody who clearly was stating that he himself was having an internal struggle with whatever was going on, and then chose not to do anything when it came time to stand up. So it's just another example of a trail of people who have an opportunity and an ability to do and say something to make the culture a lot better for people, but then choose not to do it any fucking way. Like
even the ones, so there was a guy who was another one of Carl's black belts. I don't actually think he got his black belt from Carl, but he trained there at the same time as all those guys. And he knew a lot of things. And when we first let out the first bit of Maggie's story on Instagram, he immediately contacted me, thrilled, so excited. I was going to let out my own letter one day. This guy's such a piece of trash. Anything I can do to help, blah, blah, blah. And I was excited because like that was support. I didn't know how much support we were going to get. I already knew that Dave was willing to threaten my membership to try and shut me up. So I knew that this was going to be hard to like get support, but I felt good about that. Like I thought somebody who had a direct confession from Carl, because this is a person who Carl had met with and begged him not to tell people that he was stalking Maggie. So Frank knew. And when it came time to, kind of ask like, okay, what's going on? Nobody had really done anything to support us. He was like, you got to wait. You don't understand. Gym owners, he doesn't own a gym, but apparently he's a gym owner. Gym owners don't, there's more to it than that. I get that you're a woman, but like, you don't understand this side of it. You haven't been around long enough. You just need to be patient. And I was like, okay, I'll try to be patient. And then it got to the point where I had to publicly distance myself from RGA. I was about to have to compete and I was like, I'm not going to wear this name. And I was like, none of these guys have said anything. It's going to look like I am saying fuck you to all the people I know in this organization. And I was like, dude, it's shit or get off the pot time. And I messaged him. I was like, look, this is the time. Like, you need to say something, or like I'm going to be forced to like include you in this group of people that I'm distancing myself from. And he calls me freaked out. You're going against people. You're threatening people who are on your side. You just need to be patient. You think that this has been going on for years, and you put your story out and you think we're all supposed to just get on board right now. Here's a guy who could not wait to help me suddenly says I'm threatening him because I'm going to distance myself from him publicly because they haven't supported us.
Absolutely. And as you should. And at the end of the day, what's really amazing to me is like, we could sit here and we could talk about these conversations mostly because everything I've said, I have proof of. I have proof. Like everything I said about Dave, I have proof of that. Everything I said about Joey, I have proof of that. And so these people are aware of what type of person this guy is, but they're so terrified to actually speak up because they're worried about their status in the organization. That's all there is to it. They're worried that
the organization.
It's the truth. They're worried about losing their jobs with the organization, losing their schools and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, what type of organization would throw you out or threaten your livelihood for one dude who clearly is caught dead to rights lying?
Henzo doesn't own their schools. They pay Henzo to put his name on their schools. They don't lose their schools. They lose their affiliation, which they're not going to do. Henzo has made it very clear that he, even when the guy is a full-on stalker, just keeps collecting the check. He supports his guys no matter what they do. And that would include them saying, these girls doing this podcast have a good point and abusive men should not be in jiu-jitsu. They wouldn't have even had to be fucking specific about it.
You know what I find strange too is that you didn't receive a legal letter.
No.
The two people that are named specifically in Carl's public statement did not receive a legal letter. You didn't receive a letter from the lawyers. Maggie didn't receive a letter from the lawyers, to my knowledge. Neither one of you did. I do believe only two of us, to my knowledge, have received letters from the lawyer. I do believe, I know I did, and I do believe Avery did. And I think that the reason that they did that was because they were worried that a bigger platform was going to take the story and actually show the truth.
But you know why we didn't? Because nobody involved who had additional information that could be made public if we did go to a lawsuit could be named on that. Because not a single shred of any of this shit that anyone has on Carl makes Carl look good.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone's got shit making him look bad. Maybe they're not willing to say it. Maybe they're not going to come forward. But nobody has something that makes him look like a good guy.
Yeah, for sure. It's absolutely crazy to me how many people who know him have talked countless amounts of shit about him and about his behaviors and about his mannerisms. And what's even crazier is I think that it'll be interesting because if this ever does go to court, which in all honesty, if it did, I would smile my ass off because I know he would get railroaded in court, because then all that stuff could be subpoenaed and all of those people would be called upon for witness testimonies. And if they got up on the stand and they tried to lie, there'd be clear evidence of what they're saying. So they would have to get on the stand and have to say the truth about what they felt about the man and about the behaviors that he did. They would have no choice because they documented all of it. It's insane.
And at the end of the day, everybody talks about being a martial artist and having integrity and being a good person and doing all this stuff. But all they're ever going to do is run their business. And that's fine, but admit that you are not somebody who's willing to stand up for women, that you're not willing to play your part within your organization to keep women safe, that you're going to collect your check for teaching people jujitsu, and you don't want to be involved beyond that.
Exactly. Just say who you are. And
don't tell me that we're family. Don't tell me. This man said I owed him more. I owed him more.
Then what? Then the truth?
And telling the truth about how you handled this whole thing and absolutely abandoned any sense of responsibility for keeping women safe in gyms near you, that you had the ability to prevent this man from continuing to do this. And you said, fuck it, keep paying my paycheck. I don't want the trouble. Where's your integrity? No.
I mean, I think what's going to happen is, we'll see where this goes. But obviously, whenever this kind of shit comes up, I'm just going to tell people the truth. Like if I'm on a podcast and someone wants to talk about it, I damn sure will talk about it. If I'm talking on my own stuff and there's something that's relevant that comes up that's similar to what's going on, I'll bring it up. Like the kind of things like this are what I cover for a living. right? And I purposely covered this for free.
Right.
And so when I'm looking at stuff like this, I go, you know what, and then what was even better was his student proving that apples don't fall that far from the tree, that I had to actually tell this man, if he continued to try to contact me, that I would actually have to pursue legal action. Like, and then what he said in the live, which was very interesting, which, by the way, just in case he's listening, those get saved, even though I didn't publish them. So feel free to try to say some shit that you didn't say this, because you fucking did. But he said it didn't matter. Those were the words to him. When I said, did you see the police report? Did you see where it said that he stalked and harassed her? He was like, oh, I'm not going to go down that road with you. And besides, it doesn't matter. What that does is it shows your level of integrity as a human being. You're saying, oh, well, even if he did stalk and harass her, at least the jujitsu's good. Like, where the fuck where does that apply?
And that's where everyone is landing at my old academy. It's like, it doesn't matter if he has the ability to help, he doesn't want to, and he didn't do it. So it doesn't matter. And you shouldn't have told people that, because you should have fallen in line. And it's like, we just have different ideas on what integrity is and what our responsibility is to the world we belong to. Like, I guess we just have to disagree about what it is to be a good person. And I'm really sorry for that, because it fucking sucked to lose everybody who mattered to me in one fell swoop, and just realize that, like, while they believed in what I was doing, they didn't want the heat. Even if they asked for it, even the ones who were standing by me as we were lighting the fucking fire.
So all they're going to really be left with is the fact that in this moment, they could have stood up and done something right and gone, you know what, it's a little inconvenient for me, but you know what, I'll make sure I do the right thing, because at the end of the day, that's what I'll be left with. The belts, the technique, all that shit doesn't fucking matter. What will matter is how you acted in the moment where you could have helped and done something greater. And when you choose not to do that, you're just as bad. And as a matter of fact, a hypocrite, because you were like, yeah, stand up. Oh, and a lot of people, it's easier for them just to go along to get along. And to me personally, I just don't understand how those people fucking sleep at night. I don't understand.
I mean, and you know, my friend asked me this. I was like, you know, this is how I sleep at night. He's like, are you sleeping? Because you seem really stressed out. I'm like, yeah, doing the right thing can be stressful, but doing the wrong thing, I can't live with that.
Yeah, it'll just gnaw at you. And then eventually what's going to happen is, what people don't understand is these kind of things are cyclical. Like the gentleman in question that we've been talking about, this isn't his first run-in with the law when it comes to the ladies. I do believe that there was a temporary order of protection against him from his ex-wife, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, for violence specifically.
So that's something I'm actually going to be getting, because the Freedom of Information Act is a beautiful thing, because it's public knowledge, so I can just write in to get it. But you know, that's not something that I think that he's ever denied. He's never actually, from what any of this, he's ever denied that.
Never denied it. No.
I have proudly taught countless female students and never been the subject of any complaints or investigations into my professional conduct. He says professional conduct, but the problem with that particular statement is that you yourself were someone else other than Maggie who actually had an issue with Carl. So yes, you were the subject of a complaint other than Maggie. Now, whether or not he wants to say that those are true, and whether or not we have proof of that, you can't say that there wasn't a complaint, because there was a complaint.
Because think about how this works. When everybody who's within his professional domain refuses to ever actually formally say anything about his behavior, he gets to maintain that reputation. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I say people like Dave, people like Frank, people like Joe all need to have some kind of formal complaint against Carl, because he has a professional reputation that he's correct is intact, because the people around him who know refuse to say something.
Yeah, it's another thing that I thought was always funny is, I've always understood and deeply honored the importance of clear consent, and it's bold and underlined. Well, clearly you don't. You had a restraining order against you, or a temporary order of protection, at least, of some form of legal letter against him from his ex-wife.
You see the message from his ex-girlfriend in the comments too on Instagram? There's just girls popping up from the woodwork being like, this guy is a problem.
Yeah, it's where did it go? That was like an interesting one too, because there was a message from somebody. Now, obviously, this is, you know, not, I need to follow up on this, but this message did appear. This was a message that appeared on one of the videos, and it said, I believe her 100%. As soon as I learned about this, I had a fling/dated him shortly before he met Maggie. I don't care if he sees this. He was a three red flag fireworks with flags. And I still went ahead because I was an impressionable 22-year-old who was obsessed with MMA. He lied, all in uppercase, in order to sleep with me, lied about being married. Hold on. And the short time I knew him, he texted me horrible things and was highly reactive over very odd things, cursed me out. And the last time he texted me in 2015 because I called him out for being married. Now, when it comes to this is just a message that did appear. Whether or not it is true or not, I can't confirm or deny. I don't know, but it is a message that did appear. And I do find that that would be odd for that to appear out of nowhere. I have a theory. Now, my theory could be incorrect. And again, this is just my personal opinion. I'm not stating this as fact. But when I see the fact that these people aren't standing up, the only thing I can think of is one or two things. Either one, they're so ingrained in the fact that they think that if they stand up against him, that the organization itself will do something to them, right? They'll be removed from their affiliation with them. One of them is a teacher under the school, so he might lose that job. I get that, right? Or he has something on them too. And they're worried to stand up because they're worried that Carl in retaliation might release something that will make them also look bad. But at the end of the day, it's not going to make him look good. But those are just my theories. It's one or the other.
And I really think that it does appear to me that they decided as a group to shut up because there were certain individuals who were willing, or at least tentatively willing, and others who were, enthusiastic about outing Carl as, the bad guy that he is. And then suddenly they were all silent in unison and defending each other about it. So one would think that all of them together as a huge group of trusted, respected, well-liked people in the community coming together to say, we saw this much of it, we have these other kinds of stories, and we definitely believe these girls, and this guy is a problem and he does not deserve to represent the name that we wear on our back. You'd think they would have safety in numbers there. But instead, they formed a wall of silence. And that, what you say, it rings true to me. Either it's coming from on high, which to me, my principles, my integrity, if someone that I'm representing is telling me that I need to protect a predator, I don't want to represent your name anymore. But that's just me. Maybe they don't have that same level of integrity. I walked away. I don't need to worry about it anymore. But when you say like he might have stuff on them, I think that he doesn't. I think that he has a story that he would spin, much the same way he wanted to tell people he had videos of Maggie, which were in no way what he was representing them as. Like Dave said in his own text messages, Carl spins the truth. Carl twists things, he lies, and they know he'd be willing to lie for them. And they know that Henzo is willing to believe Carl in spite of much evidence suggesting that he is a psychopath. So I think they're afraid that he'll lie.
It really sucks, man. It just really sucks, the whole situation. And I really wish it wasn't the way that it is, but unfortunately it is. Unfortunately, I have the job that I have. And that comes with having to dig up truth. And whenever I see that truth and I'm able to provide that evidence for people, I'm not here to tell people what to do with that evidence. Unfortunately, that's not my job. I just make sure that people understand what they're getting themselves into before they get themselves into it. If people still decide that they want to go down that path and that's what they want to do, that is 100% their choice. Now, I can have my own personal opinions about that, but I'm not here to tell them what to do with their lives. They can do what they please, but at least they've been warned about what's going on.
And it's more than that. When you use your platform and you give a voice to people, you give other people an opportunity to show how they feel about it. To me, I got to find a new gym that I knew would be supportive of women and not afraid to stand up regardless of the consequences, because they were willing to share what you were saying. They were willing to back that up. They were willing to signal support. So I think it starts a conversation, and it also gives people the opportunity to see like, oh, my gym shared this, even though they were friends with that guy. The safety of women is more important, and the truth and integrity is more important than their good standing with some dude who likes to, creep on women and harass and stalk them. It serves such a greater purpose. And I think that people listening to this who do have gyms and have platforms need to know that women see that. Women have come to me saying like, it really freaks me out that my gym didn't support this, or that they were talking shit about you guys, or I felt so good knowing that my professor shared this. We've been talking about it. I feel so much more comfortable now. Like, you gotta have the conversation, because women don't know, especially in a gym where we're usually surrounded by men. We don't know what you guys think when stuff like this happens, and it's scary to come forward. And when you don't have that support, when you do the scary thing, it's like your worst fears are confirmed.
Well, I got to say, man, the amount of outpouring of people who were supportive was pretty cool. Like, to see how many people were sharing this information or starting the conversations or making their own posts about having these conversations. So that way females in their particular gyms felt good. And to me, it's not even a female thing. It's a truth thing. This kind of stuff happens all the time. Like, I'm probably covering a story within the next day about another female martial arts instructor who raped a little child. That's that's messed up, right? But at the end of the day, what happens is you get a lot of people like in the comment sections who are like, wish it was me. I wish that happened when I was a kid. So
yeah, that's so fucked up. Women can be predators. It's not as common, absolutely. But it's bad when it's bad, always.
It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. These same type of dudes are the dudes that'll like wear shirts that says kill all pedophiles. And then when a woman rapes a little kid, they go, wish it was me. Am I right? Like, you're a huge piece of garbage and a hypocrite.
It's disturbing. Really, any serious power dynamic that you take advantage of to sexually exploit someone is fucked up. It doesn't matter who is perpetrating it. And it doesn't matter how much power they have within your organization. It's still just fucking jujitsu. And that drives me crazy. Oh no, he's so powerful. Is he God? He's just a guy. He's just a guy who creeps on young women. And by the way, gets very scared off as soon as it gets real. He's very good at controlling a specific small girl one-on-one. But when it actually comes time to like do something, stand up and people come at him, what is he doing? What has he done? He didn't even send us a lawyer letter, nothing. He's not scary. He's not powerful. He's just a weak man who preys on women and needs to be called out for it.
Well, he did get called out for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, and like I always try to make sure I stick with as factual as I can, but I know for a fact that he did at least stalk and harass a female. And I know for a fact he lied about stalking and harassing her. And I know for a fact he called other people liars. You guys on the Rear Naked Chicks podcast called you lying charlatans. That was his words. And when he called you that, he was doing so in order to try to make you guys look bad so that way he can cover up his lie. So like, to me, it's more than just the fact that he did it. It's how he's handling it afterwards. Instead of being a grown man who's supposed to be this 4th degree black belt, jujitsu guy, professor, someone to be revered and looked up to in the community because he's good at jujitsu. I got to tell you, being good at violence is only good in a few places: martial arts studios, self-defense situations, and prison. Other than that, it means dick all in the world. Nobody's sitting at a fucking conference table with the head of R&D and the CFO and the CEO, and we're all having a conversation on how to better our industry. And then the janitor walks in and everybody goes, hold. Steve, the janitor's here. We should talk to him about what he thinks because he can kick all of our asses. It would never fucking happen.
Not only can we not call out the guy who did the thing and be supported by our own community, but when we raise the issue that our community, that our gym, that our people need to stand up and do that, now effectively I'm ostracized, right? Even though I left, I'm now isolated from the group of people that I've come up with because I expected more from my leaders. And I didn't say, fuck you, I'll never talk to you again. I said, where are you? And at any point in time, if they chose to say, you know what, this is fucked, this has gone on too long, Carl is a piece of shit and I don't know why I've been protecting him, I'd be like, thank fucking God. I'm sorry. I know it's stressful. I support you coming forward. I would support them. But it's never going to happen.
Why would you talk all that shit? Like, there's so many, all the people we're talking about talk mad shit about Carl, like behind the scenes. Where's your nuts?
Never had anything bad to say about me before that. And I honestly don't even know what is the bad thing you have to say about me. How you want to say that I'm disloyal because you didn't support what I was doing. What I'm doing is try to keep people in your community safe and you wouldn't help. Like, what did I do wrong? Like, I'm sorry that it doesn't look good that you have been afraid to handle this and that you've been keeping out. It doesn't look good because it's not good. It's the wrong thing to do. You're fucking up.
Yeah,
Stop
exactly.
fucking up. Do better.
But you know, when it comes down to it, luckily, when I with this particular, you know, what I do, luckily that comes along with with knowing a lot of people in the industry. And so knowing not just people in the industry, but people who are higher ups in the industry. And a lot of the higher ups and other organizations are looking at this like this whole fucking organization is not doing what they should be doing. And a lot of the organizations are starting to call it out now because people don't like that shit. So like the last time I helped with a story, Mo, the dude who runs ABCC.
Oh, Dassam, yeah.
He was covering a story from Fight Sports, and he was doing such a good job. All I was doing was saying, hey, y'all got to look at what Mo's doing. Go watch what his stuff. Go look at his stuff. He's covering it so much better. Him and Avery did such a good job covering that shit. There was nothing I could say or do or interject that they hadn't already done. So why even? Like, it would have just been doing it to do it because they already did it all. So I started sending it to everybody. Well, Mo started covering this story too. And so right now I know he's fairly busy dude. I know he's got a lot going on, but I'm going to be contacting Mo and we're going to be pushing forward and continuing with this as well. Like the last time we covered this shit, he covered this shit and wind up making the New York Times.
Yeah,
so
that's incredible.
Like at the end of the day, this kind of shit should not skate under the radar. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. He's not perfect. You're not perfect. Nobody's fucking perfect. We all make mistakes. But what you shouldn't do as a martial arts instructor, as a human being, is you shouldn't try to make other people seem like liars to cover your own ass when you clearly did do the thing that you're saying you didn't do. So probably not the best, smartest thing. If he would have just came out and said, you know what, I did do this. I admit fault. This is something that I did. I did stalk and harass her. That was not something that I should have done. Kudos to those females, because he did try to do that halfway. That's the half truth thing. Kudos to those females for speaking the truth. You know what? It was never something that had come up before, but now that it's come up, I think that I should go ahead and come clean and admit that this is something that I've done. If you choose that you no longer want to be under my organization or under my school, I would completely understand that. You'd have every right to. I'm doing the best I can to become a better man. And I truly, from the bottom of my heart, apologize for what I have done and what I went through with Maggie. Then he would have been able to come through this looking like a fucking angel. He would have been like, you know what? We all fucked up. We all understand. Everyone in the world would have been like, you know what? I know what it's like to fuck up. I know what it's like hoping people would want to be on my side after a mistake. But you know what? He didn't do that. He chose to make you guys look like liars when you clearly weren't. And that's what made me really want to go after this. And now that I'm doing that, I'm not going to let up. Like, people should know the fucking truth. And if people want to sit there and try to put blinders on when they damn sure know what's going on, then they're just as bad. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and the story was Carl, but now the story is Carl and a cover up, which is like, why are you doing that? Not to mention now you have removed any loyalty I have to that organization. So I'm going to call it as I see it, which is you are all participating in helping this man continue to run an academy, knowing full well that he is a dangerous person.
I mean, at least acknowledge as an organization that he did what he did. Like, you can even say as an organization, let's send
a legal letter saying that it's defamation. You're like, it's not defamation if it's true, honey.
Yeah, like, we can go to court over that. I can't wait. I think it's great. But like, it's not libel. It's not slander. These are just fucking facts. Now,
and I heard a rumor that was he's not suing Maggie because Maggie doesn't have enough money. Bro, yeah, people have insurance. That's not how that works. Like, you didn't even look into it because you knew what the fuck would happen if you sued her. You don't have to go after her money personally. You didn't even think about coming after me. You don't know what I have.
Like, it's a lot.
It's just fucking stupid, honestly.
And I think that what was even more dumbfounding to me, which made the whole thing just, I was mind blown because, I was very cordial with him. He was very cordial with me. I reached out to him and I let him know I'd be covering this story. And then he was very polite to me in the DMs. I let him know, hey, would you like to release a statement? He said I would release a statement. He goes, he wanted to talk to his lawyers about that. And obviously I'm paraphrasing. These are not quotes. And then he did send me his statement, obviously, because that's my entire 2-hour video about this, is basically covering what he said and then talking to you guys about it. As I was doing the story, before I even talked to any of you, I said, hey, Carl, I sent him a message and said, would you like to do an interview? Silence. And then, of course, I asked him if he wanted to do an interview after I had already been sent this lawyer from the letter from the lawyers. But it was strange because the time frame in which I got the letter from his side which was his statement, to the time I got the letter from the lawyers was about 2 weeks, roughly, give or take a couple days. Why would you send me this letter, 4-page documentation of your public statement that you want to release, and then 2 weeks later send me like basically a cease and desist letter from a lawyer? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Probably thought that his letter would deter you from doing your story, and when that didn't work, he tried to up the ante. But like, you know, it's unfortunate when the truth reflects badly on you. It is even worse when you dig in with more lies and try to justify your behavior with bizarre excuses. So like
I'm always amused by the other side of the coin, is like his threats to release these videos about Maggie. Like, all right, let's go down that path. Let's say hypothetically you release those videos. Would they make you look any better? No, you would still look like a liar because you did lie. You would still look like you harassed and stalked her because you did. You would still have admitted on a police report that you did set up and use an app in order to contact her multiple times with various numbers that you would set up through the app. All of that would still be 100% true. All the things that he's saying were not true. They are 100% true with proof and evidence now. So like, I don't understand what he could possibly.
It would just be bizarre because it's not like he has some surreptitious recording of her doing something deceitful that she didn't know about. He's literally in her face fucking with her, recording her. Like, you look crazy and evil for doing that, for even having the video exist.
Or to even blackmail somebody with that.
Any of it, all of it is crazy. You even had some comment in your comment section that was like, yeah, when people start recording each other within a relationship for evidence, you know you're in a fucked up situation. Like, it's just, and I just can't even. Like,
and what's even crazier is like Maggie went on, and I even cover this in the timelines. Maggie went on and did the podcast. That was the thing. Like, she did this podcast. And then people were saying that, oh my God, that's not true. These things never happen. It's like, okay, well, here's some evidence and proof that these things did happen because they're text messages and stuff like that. We all have text messages and DMs. That's just the truth. It's not like she released like a video where she was like in his face saying, say the thing, Carl, do the thing. Like,
it's crazy.
Because that would be
I mean, we weren't even going to release any of that other stuff. It was just that like nobody believed her. We just wanted her to tell her story. We knew we had evidence. We wouldn't have released a story if we didn't believe it was true, or like have a reason to believe that it was true. But the point wasn't to release all the personal stuff. But when you start telling people that she's lying, then we have to prove the truth. And, you know, sorry, but the truth is pretty fucking bad, dude. Like, you did some fucked up stuff.
And I'll even add to that. If anybody at all, ever, has always been the same for me as long as I've been able to go live on YouTube. Anybody ever is willing to come live with me, you're more than welcome to do so. I am very fair. I ask very basic questions. As long as we don't like yell over each other like that other dickhole who was harassing me. Like, he didn't answer any basic questions. It's like, we can talk about it. We can talk like human beings. Anyone from either side is more than welcome to join me live, Carl included, and we can have full-blown conversations about any of this. Yes, I will ask basic questions, and yes, I will state facts. But at the end of the day, you can come on and say your story. You can come on and say that you love Carl. You can love Carl. You can come on and say that you think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. You're more than welcome to do that. You can come on and say how Maggie's crazy. You're more than welcome to do that as well. But I will be asking you basic questions, and we'll try to get to the bottom of some answers. And at this point, how could you possibly deny the things that are absolutely truthful evidence? You cannot.
I know, that's the other really obnoxious thing, is like, I've made it so easy to be on my side about this. Like, for the people who are close to it, who just need to confirm that what I'm saying is true, like to somebody higher up, did I like leave a gap somewhere that you're like, I don't know, maybe people still think Carl is a good guy? Like, what are you doing? You don't think it, they don't think it.
To be honest, he could be both. Like, I believe people have shades of gray. He could do some wonderful things for people. There are people out there who probably train with Carl, who are on the mats, who never have seen that side of him in their life. And it's hard for them to wrap their mind around the fact that he could be a different person on and off the mat. It's hard for them to wrap their mind around that. But what you can't deny is you cannot deny that his actions outside of the mat have definitely affected people on the mat.
I'm sure every serial killer, rapist, pedophile has always had somebody on their team, on their side, who liked them, who never had a bad experience with them.
I bet you fucking Dahmer donated to Toys for
100%.
Tots.
When I was going through all this in the beginning, and I was getting a couple of hate comments from a couple of Carl's super fans, and I was stressed out, like, how can anyone still think this? My boyfriend was like, people write letters to serial killers in prison. There's not anybody so bad on this earth that there aren't people who are still going to be their fans. And I was
Absolutely.
like, all right, you're right.
Just legally to address this is that we're not comparing Carl to a serial killer. What we're comparing it to is people's ability to overlook good and bad for the sake of
People don't care how bad somebody is. That if
Absolutely.
they like them, they're going to overlook that stuff and they're just going to see what they like. So,
Absolutely.
all right.
And people can like Carl. I'm not telling you, I've never told anybody not to train there. All I'm doing is providing the evidence and people can do what they please. It just is really sad to see how many people, like I have so much text messages and evidence of people who are very like close and tight knit in that organization who've spoken out behind the scenes, who just right now, when it comes down time to it, they have the nuts on behind the screen. They have the gall.
And I don't even think any of them would say that it didn't happen. I think what they would say is that this is incredibly stressful and they don't want to participate. But like, my purpose in doing this is to make it more possible for women to come forward and do these things. It doesn't need to be stressful. The problem is everybody deciding to shut up about it. When everybody who knows that what wrong was done says it out loud and stands together and supports each other, it's not hard. It's a community building event. Everyone's on the right side of the right thing and women can feel safer. But when you start shutting down and shutting people out and begging them not to tell the truth and ostracizing them from your group for telling the truth, and then furthermore, defend your position to stay quiet on it, you're showing the whole world how hard it is to get justice or to get your voice heard or to get safety if a bad thing happens to you as a woman. So when people ask, why am I still doing this? The story's already out there because it's still fucking impossible to say this stuff without being shunned from an organization because people still think that they have to stay out of it. I really just want to keep saying this stuff until it becomes safe to not stay out of it, to say your truth.
Well, luckily behind the scenes, there's a lot going on. So there's definitely a movement and a rally. And obviously I'm covering the story because I think that that's the right thing to do. And we'll see what happens with it, but at least people will be made aware. And I think that what happens is when you build a house, you do it one brick at a time. It's not like the house is just poof, magically built. You have to go through those struggles. You have to stand in the heat. You have to have sore muscles. You have to go get materials. You have to carry them inconveniently from point A to point B. Building a house by yourself is not an easy task. It becomes easier when you have other people willing to help out, willing to lend a hand, willing to stand up. And usually what happens is when you see one person in need, somebody will stop and go, you know what? I'm going to help you out. And then next thing you know, you have 2, and then 3, and then 4. Well, at the end of the day, that's going to happen. It's how it always works. What I've been doing for the last decade is slowly but surely building a house. And so right now, it's not even like you're alone. There are already people who already understand that this kind of stuff goes on. There are already so many resources out there. And what it is just a matter of time and slowly but surely, coming into that collective and understanding there are people who actually give a shit. And, at the end of the day, hopefully I can provide as much help as humanly possible. I told everyone when I first started this, I'm on no one's side. And that's absolutely true, but the truth. But the thing is that the truth is leaning hard against the other guys. And you know what? We'll always be able to pull up and dig up that truth to make sure that we're able to keep people safe. Not just women, but people in general should be able to come to a group and say, you know what? I'm having a hard time. Hey, we're here for you. Let's make this happen, because I think that martial arts is a beautiful thing. I think that it is the last bastion of truth that you'll have, not only with yourself, but another human being. I think that when you fight someone else, the truth is what comes out when you fight somebody. Lies don't typically come out when you fight somebody. Whenever you fight someone, it's always like, you said this and you did this. Those are all truths. They were just holding them in. When you actually physically fight somebody, it's the same thing. When you physically fight another human being, the truth comes out. Are you good at this? Are you not? Did you train? Did you not? Do you understand what's going on, or do you not? It's very difficult to lie to people. So to me, it's a very sacred thing that we should be protecting from people like that, who want to sit there and use their platforms to what? To lean on whenever you get caught in a lie. Oh, I'm a fucking pillar of this community. I'm a great person. I do all these great things. I teach great jujitsu. That's what you're going to fucking lean on because you lied about what's going on when you harassed and stalked someone. You're going to use martial arts as your protective shield. That's not going to fucking
And then
fly.
people who knew that you did the wrong thing, say nothing. And the people who didn't know anything about you having these behaviors say, yeah, he's a great stand-up guy. I never heard any of this stuff.
And best believe all you people out there who are listening to this shit, who are choosing not to say shit, you can say, I don't want to be involved all you fucking want. It's too late. You are. Sorry. That sucks. Pick a side, make a decision. But trying to stay on that fence, there is no fence.
Well, I appreciate all of your bringing light to this and, making sure people know the truth in this and a lot of the stuff you do. I mean, it's really important work, and I appreciate you following up and staying on top of it and coming on the podcast today, and just keep at it. The community needs more voices like yours.
Happy, and I'm glad that I was able to cover the story, and I'll continue to do the best that I can. If you guys ever need anything at all, just let me know and I'll be as helpful and beneficial as I can.
Thanks so much. Everybody make sure to go follow McDojoLife on YouTube, Instagram, anywhere you can find these cool stories, and we'll catch you next time.